Her full name is Vanessa Laine Bryant. The world knows her simply as Vanessa Bryant. And behind the headlines, behind the lawsuits, the grief, the magazine covers, and the public statements is a life built around something most people will never fully understand from the outside. A life built around legacy and protection. Around raising 4 daughters in the shadow of an enormous loss while refusing to let that shadow define the light inside her home. We go inside Vanessa Bryant's private spaces today to see how she preserves family and honors a legacy without spectacle. What you will find is not what most people expect. You will not find a woman frozen in mourning. You will not find a shrine to the past dressed up as a present. What you will find is a woman in her early 40s who has made deliberate, sophisticated, and deeply considered decisions about every dimension of her life: financial, personal, architectural, and emotional. And who is, in 2026, living with a clarity and a purposefulness that is genuinely rare. Her estimated net worth stands at around $600 million. She is one of the wealthiest widows in American sports history. She oversees one of the most recognizable personal brand legacies in basketball culture. She is raising her daughters, Natalia, Bianka, and Capri, in a home designed for real life, not performance. This is the private world of Vanessa Bryant, and it is far more powerful than anyone is giving it credit for. The girl from Huntington Beach who became part of a dynasty. Vanessa Laine was born on May 5, 1982, in Los Angeles, California. She grew up in Huntington Beach, a coastal Southern California community where the Pacific Ocean is not a backdrop but a baseline, a daily presence that shapes how people move through the world. She was a high school student at Marina High School when her life intersected with Kobe Bryant's. He was 21 years old, already an NBA star, already a name that moved through rooms before the person did. She was 17. Their relationship was immediate and serious and controversial in the way that relationships between very young women and very famous men always invite scrutiny. They married on April 18, 2001. Vanessa was 18 years old. Kobe was 22. Neither of their families initially attended the wedding, a complicated beginning that carried its own foreshadowing of just how much this couple would be required to weather, publicly and privately, across the years to come. The early years of the marriage were not easy by any honest account. The public allegations in 2003 in Eagle, Colorado, shook the relationship to its foundation and required Vanessa to make choices about loyalty, about dignity, about what she was willing to hold and what she was not in full view of a watching world. She has never been fully explicit about what those years cost her internally. She has not needed to be. The survival of the marriage until Kobe's death in 2020 speaks for itself. 4 daughters came into the world across their years together. Natalia Diamante Bryant, born in January 2003. Gianna Maria Honor Bryant, Gigi, born in May 2006. Bianka Bella Bryant, born in December 2016. Capri Kobe Bryant, born in June 2019. Gianna died alongside her father on January 26, 2020, in a helicopter crash in Calabasas, California. That also took the lives of 7 other people. Gianna was 13 years old. That morning changed everything. And everything that Vanessa Bryant has built since that morning has been constructed on the foundation of that grief, that love, and that loss. The Newport Beach estate architecture of a protected life. Vanessa Bryant has long been rooted in Newport Beach, California, a coastal enclave where old money discretion meets modern luxury. She and Kobe had deep ties to the community. All 4 daughters were born at Hoag Hospital, where Vanessa later established the Kobe and Vanessa Bryant family court, a permanent, physical acknowledgement of that bond. That gesture reveals how Vanessa thinks about legacy, not abstract or symbolic, but concrete, named. Built to last and serve thousands of families who may never know the story behind the name. Her Newport Beach estate is designed for privacy and permanence, layered gates, mature landscaping, architectural proportions that signal presence without announcing it. The interior is warm without being casual, elevated without being cold, custom throughout, built for a mother whose younger daughters, Bianka and Capri, remain the beating heart of the household. Certain spaces carry the weight of remembrance, photographs and memorabilia placed not as museum pieces but as daily touchstones. Lakers, purple and gold appear not as decoration but as thread woven into the fabric of daily life. Vanessa has spoken about her commitment to ensuring Bianka and Capri know their father not as mythology but as a man. The home is designed to support that mission. Every room is, in some sense, a classroom. The Mamba and Mambacita Sports Foundation, legacy with infrastructure. Following the deaths of Kobe and Gianna, Vanessa Bryant renamed the Mamba Sports Foundation the Mamba and Mambacita Sports Foundation, a change that took 2 words and carried the weight of a universe. The foundation exists to create positive impact through sports-based youth programs. It supports underserved youth across multiple communities through basketball, softball, and other athletic programs designed to build character alongside skill. It funds tournaments, training opportunities, scholarships, and access for young people whose financial circumstances would otherwise place these opportunities entirely out of reach. The renaming to include Mambacita, Gianna's nickname, the name her teammates and coaches used for her, the name that carried her father's competitive fire wrapped in her own distinct personality, was not a branding decision. It was a declaration. Gianna Bryant was 13 years old and already being discussed by credible basketball analysts as a future WNBA player. She had her father's footwork and her own vision. She was not a footnote in his story. She was the beginning of her own story, cut short at a moment that makes no rational sense to sit with for very long. By enshrining Mambacita in the foundation's name, Vanessa ensured that every program, every scholarship, every young athlete touched by this organization carries Gianna's name forward. That is not grief management, that is architecture. The same instinct that placed Kobe and Vanessa's name on a hospital wall applied here builds something physical, something that will outlast the headlines. The foundation has distributed millions of dollars in resources since its restructuring. It continues to grow, and every dollar that flows through it is, in a very real sense, Gianna still playing. The legal fight, how Vanessa became the most consequential advocate for dignity in sports. In 2022, a federal jury awarded Vanessa Bryant $8 million in a lawsuit against Los Angeles County. The case centered on photographs taken by first responders at the scene of the January 2020 crash photographs of the victims, including Kobe and Gianna, that were shared at a bar and a gala, shown casually as if the death of a child and her father were entertainment. Vanessa sued, and she won. But the financial figure, as meaningful as it was, understated what the verdict actually meant. The case established legal precedent for the dignity rights of crash victims and their families. It sent a message to every law enforcement agency, every emergency responder organization, every institution that handles human tragedy as part of its operational function, that the humanity of the people in those photographs does not expire because they have died. That grief is not a public resource. That a mother's right to know her child's worst moment was not photographed for circulation is a right worth fighting for in federal court. Vanessa did not have to do this publicly. She could have settled. She could have accepted a private resolution and moved on with her life and her daughters and her foundation and her enormous financial security. She chose the courtroom. She chose the record. She chose to make the outcome permanent and precedent-setting rather than private and forgettable. That is not the behavior of a woman managing a public image. That is the behavior of a woman who understands that some fights matter beyond the individual and who has both the resources and the will to see them through. The financial architecture, $600 million, and what it actually means. The published figures place Vanessa Bryant's net worth at approximately $600 million as of 2025 and 2026. That number traces back to multiple streams that have been compounding since long before January 2020. Kobe Bryant's estate at the time of his passing was estimated at between $600 million and $700 million accumulated across a 20-year NBA career that included 5 championships, 2 Finals MVP awards, 1 regular season MVP, and 18 All-Star selections. His salary across those 20 years with the Los Angeles Lakers totaled approximately $323 million, making him, at the time of his retirement in 2016, one of the highest-paid players in NBA history on a cumulative basis. But the salary was only one stream. Kobe's business acumen in his post-playing years revealed a financial sophistication that the basketball world had not fully anticipated. His venture capital firm, Bryant Stibel, invested in companies including LegalZoom, sports nutrition brand BodyArmor, and various technology companies. BodyArmor was acquired by Coca-Cola in 2021 for over $5 billion, a transaction that returned an estimated $200 million to the Bryant estate. Vanessa also controls the Kobe Bryant intellectual property portfolio, licensing rights to his name, image, likeness, and the Mamba brand. In an era where athlete licensing represents one of the most durable and scalable forms of passive income, this portfolio is not static. It is actively managed and strategically licensed, generating revenue through apparel, collectibles, memorabilia, documentary content, and digital experiences. Nike's relationship with Kobe's estate has been one of the most closely watched chapters of the post-death licensing world. After a contract dispute became public in 2021 when Vanessa announced she was unable to extend the agreement with Nike, the cultural response was swift and loud. Fans, athletes, and coaches expressed the significance of Kobe's shoe line, particularly to the basketball community, where the Kobe line is not nostalgia, but active game day equipment used by players at every level. The two sides ultimately reached a new agreement, with Kobe shoes returning to market. The terms were not disclosed, but the leverage Vanessa demonstrated in that negotiation willingness to walk away from one of the most powerful corporations in sports and let the public silence speak was a masterclass in understanding the actual value of what you own. Natalia Bryant, the daughter building her own chapter. Natalia Diamante Bryant was born on January 19, 2003. She is 23 years old in 2026, and she is, by every observable measure, doing what her father would have expected of her, building with intention. Natalia signed with IMG Models in 2021, launching a modeling career that placed her in campaigns for global luxury brands and publications that recognized immediately that she carried both her parents' physical presence and something entirely her own, a composure and a groundedness that does not read as performance. She graduated from USC, her father's alma mater, honoring a connection that was as personal as it was symbolic. Kobe Bryant received an honorary doctorate from Northeastern University and was deeply connected to the educational dimension of his legacy. Natalia walking across a USC graduation stage was a thread pulled from one generation to the next. She has been selective about public presence in a way that reflects her mother's philosophy exactly. Visible enough to maintain agency over her own narrative, private enough to protect the interior life that sustains everything else. Raising Bianka and Capri, the daily architecture of legacy. Bianka Bella Bryant is 8 years old in 2026. Capri Kobe Bryant is 6. They are the youngest members of a family that carries one of the most recognized names in sports history, and they are being raised by a mother who is determined that name will be a source of pride and identity rather than pressure and burden. Vanessa has spoken in interviews about the conversations she has with Bianka and Capri about their father and their sister. They are not conversations held at arm's length, sanitized for comfort. They are honest conversations, age-appropriate in their details but complete in their emotional truth. Kobe loved you. Gigi loved you. They are gone. We carry them with us. Bianka plays basketball. She has her father's build and, from what observers have noted, a natural affinity for the game that is impossible to dismiss as coincidence. Whether she chooses to pursue that path professionally is entirely her own decision to make, but the foundation under her feet, built by two parents who understood sport as a vehicle for discipline and joy, is solid. Capri is still forming, still discovering, still in that early chapter of childhood where the world is enormous and curiosity is the primary navigation tool. What she knows is that she is loved, that she is safe, that her home is a place where her father's presence is a warmth rather than a weight. Vanessa's greatest ongoing project is not the foundation, not the estate, not the licensing portfolio. It is these two little girls. And she approaches that project with the same discipline and intention that Kobe once applied to every dimension of his craft. The aesthetic lifestyle, design, and how Vanessa moves through the world. Vanessa Bryant has always had a distinct visual sensibility. Even in the early years, teenager at courtside, young wife, at NBA events, there was something in how she carried herself that communicated awareness of space and presentation without vanity. In 2026, that sensibility has matured into something genuinely sophisticated. She is a presence at fashion events in a way that reflects curatorial taste rather than celebrity obligation. The brands she aligns with, the editorials she accepts, the partnerships she maintains, each one passes through a filter that is not managed by a PR team operating on instinct, but by a woman who understands exactly what she and her family's name communicate and who is intentional about where that communication lands. Her personal style is coastal California at its most refined. Clean lines, natural fabrics, a color palette that lives between white and cream and warm neutral, and the occasional deliberate statement, a flash of Lakers gold appearing not as costume, but as tribute. The homes she curates reflect this same sensibility. Newport Beach is not a showroom. It is a lived-in sanctuary. Spaces designed for a mother and her daughters for meals together, for homework at a proper table, for the kind of ordinary Tuesday evening that is, in the long arc of a life, the most meaningful thing. Vanessa Bryant at 43, what the quiet wealth actually buys. She turned 43 years old in May 2025, and in 2026, what the $600 million, the foundation, the legal victories, the licensing portfolio, and the 2-decade accumulation of experience and discipline have purchased is not what most people imagine when they imagine what that number buys. It buys time. Time to raise Bianka and Capri without financial anxiety ever entering the equation. Time to pursue the foundation's mission without having to balance mission against financial survival. Time to take the legal fight all the way to a federal jury because the principle matters more than the settlement. It buys choice. The choice to say no to the brand partnership that does not feel right. The choice to grant the interview or decline it. The choice to step into the room or stay outside it, based entirely on what serves the family and the legacy rather than what fills a calendar. It buys permanence. The Kobe and Vanessa Bryant family court at Hoag Hospital will be there in 50 years. The Mamba and Mambacita Sports Foundation will have shaped hundreds of thousands of young athletes by then. The legal precedent from the 2022 verdict will have protected families whose names no one will ever know. That is what quiet wealth actually buys. When the person managing it understands what it is for, there is a version of this story that could be told entirely through loss. That version is true, but incomplete. The complete version is this: a woman who married young, loved deeply, lost catastrophically, and then, in the years when most people would have been permitted to simply survive, chose to build, chose to fight, chose to preserve and honor and extend and protect everything that the man she loved and the daughter she lost had meant to the world. Vanessa Laine Bryant did not inherit a legacy. She became its architect. She took what January 26, 2020 left behind: the grief, the name, the legal rights, the financial estate, the 3 daughters still breathing and growing and needing her. And she built a structure around all of it that is now, in 2026, one of the most sophisticated and deliberate examples of legacy management in American cultural history. Behind the headlines is a life built around legacy and protection. Inside the Newport Beach estate, 3 daughters are growing up, knowing who they come from. Inside the Mamba and Mambacita Foundation, young athletes are practicing under a name that carries both a father's relentless standard and a daughter's interrupted promise. Inside the legal record, a federal verdict stands as proof that dignity is not a luxury and that some fights are worth everything they cost. This is what quiet wealth looks like when it is in service of something larger than itself. Maintaining legacy takes intention more than flash. If this moved you, leave a comment below and we will cover more families who protect what matters most. Subscribe to the channel because the next story is already being built in a place most people are not looking.